I got 4 cars and they all black, got 4 bras and they all that. We call that ballin'. Doing this is my calling. Flow is so appalling.
Hi, I'm Sal.
I'm RJ. This is Dos
and Tres, your home for NFL and Cowboys news from the fans. So today we got a first round mock draft. We're going to have a little bit of trade projection. All of our picks are based off of what we read from scouts, former GMs, you know, and also a little bit of our own opinion. So let's get started. The Cleveland Browns are on the clock.
Yeah, pick one. This is pretty much guaranteed not to screw up for the Browns. Myles Garrett. He will not be a bust. This is much guarantee as you can get. I remember this kid being in the Under Armour All-American game 5-6 years ago, somewhere around there, and said he was going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft when he reached there, and lo and behold, here he is, number 1. Take him.
Yeah, he's probably the best overall player on the board. GMs like Charlie Casserly, they've compared him, said he's a better prospect than Peppers coming out, also Clowney and Mario Williams. It's kind of, you know, just take the best guy. He is definitely the best guy on the board, so don't screw it up, Cleveland. With the second overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers, we got him taking Deshaun Watson, the quarterback out of Clemson. We believe that he's the best quarterback available. He's multiple year starter, national stage, spotlight, really successful. You know, 49ers, they could wait, you know, a year for Kirk Cousins, but why don't you just go ahead and take a good guy now? Get started early. He compares well kind of with Dak Prescott. They've got the same ability and same, you know, background.
Yeah, add on to that, I feel like with Shanahan there now, and I think Watson should be his guy in my mind, especially with the offense and the way he runs it, and I think Watson is a perfect fit for that. He performs in big games. I did watch a couple of his games throughout the regular season. I saw him did struggle a little with technique and footwork, but he has the things that you can't coach in big games, and that's just obvious right there, and I feel like that's a big reason why he should go At number 3, we got the Bears picking Jamal Adams, safety out of LSU. I didn't realize it was, or I didn't think that it was, you could raise your draft stock that much from your pro day, but running almost 0.2 of a second faster in your 40, and he's just a freak of nature, and they need lots of help in the secondary, and I feel like he is a top 5 prospect in this draft. And
Adams is a really good prospect. Not only is he a great football player, but he's also said to be one of the best leaders coming out of the draft in the last few years. So that really raises them up the board. Plus, Chicago needs to set an identity on their defense. They used to be known for really great defenses. Now they're not really known for anything other than Jay Cutler, and he's not even on the team anymore. So, you know, take a really good leader player here. At pick 4, the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little surprise pick here, but we got him taking O.J. Howard. I think this is a player that they really fell in love with. They're tied to Leonard Fournette, but I think it might just be bait for like a team like Carolina to jump up, which is why I see a trade possibly happening here more than any of the picks in the top 5. But O.J. Howard is a complete 3-down tight end, best prospect in a while. Definitely worth, I would say, a top 10 selection. Plus, you're tied to Blake Bortles for a few more years. Give him that safety net that he needs, and pair him up with Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. That's a pretty good trio.
Yeah, they already have some really good weapons on the outside, in my opinion. Bortles is just kind of the one hindering that, but give another player like O.J. Howard, see what he can do with it, and if not, then it's time to move on. But I think O.J. is the obvious pick. At number 5, we have the Titans picking Solomon Thomas, defensive end out of Stanford. He's got the length, he's got the range as far as playing around the defensive line, the interior. He's the best player available, and Tennessee can really shore up the defensive side of the ball. I feel like they have everything. They have pretty solid offense this past year. I feel like they could have won the division, but they had some little speed bumps here and there as far as staying consistent. Well, with Solomon Thomas being able to shore up the defense and having another pick later on in the first round, they'll lead to pretty good things. Hopefully they'll win the division this coming year.
Yeah, having 2 first-round picks, they can really go best player available. And I mean, Thomas being there at 5, that's a really great pick. Like you said, he can play all over the defensive line. He's, you know, maybe not a true edge rusher, but you know, bringing him in the inside on 3rd downs, I mean, he's going to be able to abuse guards. So the next pick, the New York Jets, they need help all over, but we got them taking MARSHON, LATTIMORE, the best cornerback. They lost Revis. Really all they have is Buster Screen back there now. a decent corner, but Lattimore I think is by far the best corner in the draft. He's a complete player from big name school, national spotlight, and Ohio State's been pretty good at pumping out defensive backs the last couple years. Really good class this year.
Pretty good prospects started to come out of there, really pump out of there as soon as Meyer got there, and this is probably one of his best that he's put out in recent years, besides this boy right here. But another Ohio State guy going back to back, Malik Hooker, safety for the Chargers. Feel like they've been needing that presence back there ever since they mistreated Weddle and they lost him, and they just need somebody. They just need somebody to establish that dominance back and be able to command the secondary and just patrol that area.
Yeah, Hooker is just, he jumps off the tape because he jumps into the playing field. I mean, the dude just explodes into the play from wherever he is on the field. And, you know, he'll get a pick, he'll break up the pass. He's very, very rangy. He's not complete yet as far as being complete. You know, he can't tackle well yet, but he's definitely a player that you want to take a high pick on and go off of the potential. Yeah, picking at 8 is Carolina Panthers. Are probably jumping up and down because their guy Leonard Fournette is still on the board and they run up that card. Leonard Fournette is a freak of nature. I mean, this dude's been talked about since his high school playing days. I mean, he was a man amongst boys even in college. And pairing him up in the backfield with Cam Newton, that's just going to take a lot off of Cam's back. And it's just a perfect system for Fournette. You know, north-south running, just pound the damn rock.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Cook is the better running back prospect in this draft, but it's all about fit here, and he fits them perfectly with this north-south, up and down. So that's what he is. That's what he's going to be making a living, make his money at. But I also feel like maybe a little injury toll having to carry his frame. I feel like it could kind of relate to a Gronk-wise as far as the durability that maybe he can sustain in the NFL. So that's why I'm kind of a little iffy on him, and that's why I also think Cook is the better overall running back prospect, but I feel it is the perfect fit for them. If he does end up working out, he is going to be a beast. We have the Bengals taking Reuben Foster. He's another one that just jumps out on the tape, especially you just go put on that Washington game. He just shoots out of a cannon. He's crazy instinctful. Just as soon as he reads it, sees it, he's going.
Yes.
Reminds me a lot of Patrick Willis, honestly.
Reuben Foster, he had a few off the field issues, you know, with the medical thing at the combine, not being able to perform at the combine. But he's crazy good player. Some people have him as the #1 player on their board. I believe Todd McShay does, which, you know, those ESPN guys, they don't really predict well, but hey, he's one of the guys. But yeah, I mean, with those issues, he fits well into the Cincinnati locker room. I mean, they already have Burfict, they have Pac-Man, they're still performing well on the field. So I think he'll fit in well with that team. The Buffalo Bills pick at 10, and I got them taking Mike Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson. You know, they have the connection there. Sammy Watkins also from Clemson, and they may not actually pick up his 5th-year option, so they may have a need there. I mean, they do have a need there. They lost Robert Woods also to free agency, and Mike Williams is a great, I mean, go up and get it receiver. He reminds me a lot of Dez Bryant. I mean, if you could have a Dez Bryant on the field, you got to take him. The Bills need a lot of offensive firepower. I mean, to complement Shady McCoy and Tyrod Taylor's, you know, pocket mobilities.
Yeah, we debated a little bit here with as far as taking a linebacker, one of the linebackers, but I feel like Tyrod is a good enough quarterback to get things done, so might as well give him another weapon, especially with the injury history with Sammy and stuff. And, you know, we don't know if Sammy's going to be there for 16 games, 14 games, maybe less than half of the season, especially with that injury can linger on and really bother you later on. So might as well pick the best jump ball receiver here in the draft, Mike Williams. A little bit of a surprise that he's fallen this far, but kind of not considering to injury history. We have the Saints picking Jonathan Allen out of Alabama, the defensive tackle. If you put on his tape, he's made that Superman play against A&M on Trevor Knight. That's the one that really jumps off at you. But yeah, he's an absolute animal and played in high competition in the SEC, and he always showed up. It's a pretty obvious pick, especially with the Saints needing defensive help.
The Saints need help all over the defense, so even if Jonathan Allen has the little marks as far as the shoulder injuries go, he's got a lot of potential as a player. I mean, he didn't test well athletically, but I mean, on film, the dude is just a monster. with Cleveland's second first-round pick at 12, they picked Mitch Trubisky, quarterback out of UNC. I mean, they kind of wanted this guy at 1, but I don't think the value's there. He's only a 1-year starter. I wouldn't even say he's a first-round quarterback, but you know, out of potential, there's a lot of guys that get shot up the draft where this is a weak quarterback class. Hugh Jackson, he's been a pretty good developer of quarterbacks, so might as well take the guy you want here and you know, get started on the process of hopefully building Cleveland into at least a playoff contender.
I kind of do like him. Not as much as Deshaun though, but he does throw with great anticipation. He's a little cleaner on his footwork and stuff, just that we'd never seen him really on the big stage as far as Deshaun has. But I actually like him, and as far as here at Cleveland, might as well pick a quarterback, because if you pick Garrett with your first pick, that's a guarantee that you're not going to bust like they have in recent drafts. So might as well go ahead and pick Trubisky here, especially with Hugh being able to develop quarterbacks, and go ahead and just, I guess, sort of take a chance here. And
I mean, they've taken other chances in the past. I mean, that one draft with Justin Gilbert and Brandon Weeden, I mean, both of those guys aren't even on the roster anymore. I feel like these are better players, so, you know.
What's the biggest difference here is Garrett.
Yeah.
At 13, we have the Cardinals picking Corey Davis. This was pretty, we really agreed on this one. Doing our mock drafts together, we had Corey Davis both going to the Cardinals before we came together and made a consensus. Need somebody to pair with Fitzgerald. Palmer's getting up there in age. I'm pretty sure they lost one of their speedy receivers on the outside, and to me, I think he is better than Mike Williams, but then again, it's all about what you prefer.
Yeah, what you prefer, and then he didn't have any workouts, so I mean, and you know, nowadays, especially with injuries, players should just go off their college game tape, but still, I mean, just because it's the establishment of the NFL, you have to perform in the combine and different workouts like that. He may slide to Arizona. Really, all the Cardinals have on the outside is Fitzgerald, and then their speedy guys. So, I mean, Corey Davis is a really good receiver to pair with him. So, at 14, the Philadelphia Eagles select Tre'Davious White, cornerback out of LSU. They need a lot of help in the secondary. Their guys get burned and toasted a lot. But the defensive coordinator does an okay job now of disguising that and, you know, giving them some help. But they definitely need a guy back there to, you know, set a tone. And Tre'Davious White is a perfect player. He's a good leader coming out of LSU. Primarily, I mean, he projects better as a slot corner, but he can play all over the field, especially with, you know, the guys that are going to be in the slot he's facing in the NFC East.
Yeah, to go ahead and run up on the receivers that are in the NFC East with slot guys like Cole, Shepard, and now probably with Dawson from the Redskins moving there with their acquisition of Terrell Pryor in the offseason. I mean, it's a key part. It's a key component. And I mean, Carroll was covering ones last year, and they need somebody in there to step up. And because right now they really don't have anybody. And even Malcolm, most of the time, Malcolm was the one having to move down and play the slot cornerback, especially because Schwartz would really like to bring heavy blitzes and stuff, and maybe he can kind of lean back a little bit on that and trust a little more in Tre'Davious. At 15, this was one that we did not agree on. He had the Colts picking Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
To me, the second best player in this draft on the front seven from Tennessee, and I have them picking Christian McCaffrey, and I'll go ahead and make my statements on why that should happen. Why I think because Andrew Luck is probably going to lobby for it. Kind of seems weird in a way or whatever. I mean, they are from Stanford, but I feel like this offensive line draft is not deep, and I feel like McCaffrey, the ways in which you can use him would cover up a little bit of a lot of the deficiencies that they do have on the offensive line, and being able to give Luck another weapon that can really be used wherever he wants him to be used would just, I think, bolster up their team more than picking a defensive player here, what are trying to pick an offensive lineman when the offensive linemen aren't as good as they are in past year's drafts as they are in this one.
The reason I got them taking Barnett, I mean, first of all, it's incredible value. Barnett is a great edge rusher. He doesn't test well athletically, you know, from his combine numbers and things, but the dude had 33 sacks and broke Reggie White's record in his time at Tennessee. So, I mean, he backs it up with his game tape. Also, their GM, Grigson, said they wanted to build up the offensive and defensive lines, which I completely agree with. I think that sets the tone of the game. this is a perfect pick. I just feel like Barnett can be a bigger impact in the future versus McCaffrey now. So that's why I got them taking Barnett.
But they can win the division now.
They can win the division with Barnett too. I mean, you got to get after the quarterback too. And I mean, other than Mariota, they're going to be able to get after those quarterbacks. So at 16, the Baltimore Ravens got them taking John Ross. The pick is, it kind of doesn't make much sense as far as what they already have on their roster. They have Mike Wallace already. They also have Rashad Perriman, who they took in the first round. Both really fast guys, which is exactly what John Ross is. 4.22, broke the record. But they've been visiting with them a lot. And usually that translates to the person that they're going to pick. And John Ross has been connected with the Ravens, since the combine. I mean, I guess they saw those numbers and they were just like, man, we want this guy. This guy can really change the offense.
I mean, yeah, when you have a lot of meetings with a guy and you visit him a lot and you bring him in, you usually end up falling in love with him, and that ends up, if he's there, then that's your guy and you pick him. And Ross is an absolute burner. He put up great numbers at Washington. He was he's a speedster, even though they do have Perriman and Wallace. I feel like Wallace is already getting up there in age, and Perriman, he's kind of been, not a bust, but just, he hasn't been healthy.
He hasn't been on the field.
Yeah, he hasn't been on the field. At 17, we have the Redskins picking Davis, the linebacker out of Florida, my Florida Gators. This guy is an absolute thumper. He's actually risen his draft stock a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, playing in the Gators, Ohio State, Alabama, those teams, they're going to have the first round talent that puts out and that comes in the NFL and makes impacts right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Davis has been rising up draft boards. Some people have him ranked even above Reuben Foster just because of his off-field concerns. The Redskins, they can't really stop the run. They need a lot of help in the middle of their defense. I don't think there's a defensive lineman that'll fix that immediately, but the presence of Davis would be a big boost. So at 18, the Tennessee Titans, their second first-round pick, they're going to pick cornerback Garyon Conley out of Ohio State. Conley's a great corner. Some people have him ranked right below MARSHON Lattimore. Conley's a good corner. I think there's a little bit of separation between him and MARSHON because Conley doesn't really use his hands very well. He doesn't press off the ball well, but he's still a good corner. I mean, he's going to run with you like a mirror. The Titans, they're going to go best player available. I mean, this is a great player, actually. So they get two great players in Solomon Thomas and Garyon Conley with their first-round picks to really help that defense, pairing Conley with Logan Ryan.
Yeah, here's the third Ohio State guy finally going off. Maybe people might predict him earlier, but we have him right here to the Titans. Fits well. Again, the Titans are really close, in my opinion, to winning that division, and I feel like this even shores it up more, and this should be a really, really, really exciting first round for the Titans, and they should be happy with this, more than happy. All right, we have the Buccaneers selecting Dalvin Cook, the running back out of Florida State. Pretty sure everybody knows him. In my opinion, he is the #1 running back prospect in this draft, but then again, it's all about fit, and even though Fournette going to the Panthers, that's a perfect fit, but here, I mean, besides chunking it up to Mike Evans every single play, Winston does need help. He needs somebody to turn around to and hand the ball off to. Maybe that offensive line isn't as great, but Cook is a running back that can make something out of nothing and just create space and be patient and go do his thing like we saw him do at Florida State. I feel like this would maybe little triplets here with Evans, Winston, and Cook, future superstars, or already are.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook is a great back. He's more of a one-cut back. I mean, he's going to cut you up with his agility. That's really the difference between him and Fournette. Fournette's just going to punish you. Cook's just going to punish your ankles.
Yeah.
And in the NFC South, you got to score a lot of points. So I think his speed and his pass-catching ability really will fit well in that division. And then, really solidify the running back spot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are shooting up and might be able to make the playoffs this year. So picking at 20 is the Denver Broncos. We're going to have them take offensive lineman or offensive tackle Ryan Ramczyk out of Wisconsin. Wisconsin's produced a lot of great offensive linemen the last few years. And he's been really tied to the Broncos since the beginning of this process. They really need to protect whoever's going to be back there, whether it's Simeon or Paxton Lynch. because they need time to develop, and they also need game time as far as being able to sit back in the pocket and go through their reads and the progressions. So take the best offensive lineman available, and that'll fill a need.
Simeon does need help, but he already has that help around him now. He just needs it in front of him. But been hearing a little word lately that maybe it could be a surprise pick. Maybe if McCaffrey's still there, they might pick him. But I think offensive lineman right here is a safe pick, especially being right there on the verge of getting back to the playoffs and having guys like Bosa, Mack, and Houston, everybody in that draft. I know picking up Leary helps on the interior, but mainly it's on the outside in that division.
Yeah,
that's what they need to shore up.
They've been really trying to plug and play guys, guys who had potential, maybe coming off injuries.
That doesn't work.
And stuff, but it doesn't really work. I mean, usually once you suffer a major injury in the offensive line, you really don't get back to what you were before.
At 21, we have the Detroit Lions picking Taco Charlton. In my opinion, I think maybe Charles is a little better. Harris, that is. They've also liked Taco here. Hurd and Ziggy need some help on the other side, even though Ziggy wasn't as healthy as he was in recent years. But they just need help on the other side. They need to get to the pass rusher, just like every other team does. And Taco's a good fit here.
I think Taco has a lot more potential than, say, a guy like Charles Harris, because he's got more athleticism. He's bigger, and also he went on a complete freaking tear on his last few games for Michigan. I think he racked up 10 sacks in his last 3 to 5 games. But the dude will fit well with Ziggy Ansah. Ziggy was just injured last year, so hopefully he gets back up to 100% health. Having both of them, that's a pretty menacing duo, and you need it to get after guys like Aaron Rodgers, specifically, I guess, Aaron Rodgers. And, I mean, you'll kill Sam Bradford if he's back there. That dude doesn't move. So at 22, we got the Miami Dolphins taking Garrett Bowles from Utah. Some people have him ranked as the best offensive lineman in the class, but he's got some issues off the field, and also he's going to be a 24-year-old rookie, so that's probably 2 to 3 years too old coming in. But Miami, I think they really want to build up their offensive line so they can go in and pound you in that division. Give Jay Ajayi and Tannehill some help. And, in that division, whenever you're really only competing with the Patriots, time of possession is key. Keep the ball away from Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's kind of like, in a way, like I was just saying with Simeon. I mean, Tannehill, I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. I mean, he should. He was always on his back. And like I said, with Simeon, he has the talent around him. Put it in front of him now. I mean, and they started doing that with Tunzel, and look what had happened with Jay Ajayi. And now go ahead and just take, in my opinion, probably the best offensive lineman in the draft, even though it's not that deep, and help out Tannehill. We have the New York Giants at 23, selecting the offensive tackle Cam Robinson out of Alabama. I mean, I'm not too sure what's going to happen with Flowers. I'm pretty sure he won't get his 5th-year option picked up. I'm definitely not. So Eli's getting up there in age, and eventually they're going to have to bring in a new quarterback, so might as well start shoring up that offensive line a little bit for when that time does come. And I mean, from that Cowboys game, Benson Moya, I mean, Eric Flowers was making him look like Reggie White, so they need, I think, just go ahead and pick offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Robinson's been meeting with the Giants a lot recently. I mean, Eric Flowers, the dude has an attitude problem and just an overall play problem, so unless he takes a complete 180 this year, he's not going to be he's definitely not even going to be your starting left tackle this year. So go ahead and take Cam Robinson. He's probably not a true left tackle, but he's definitely an upgrade from Flowers. So at 24, I got the Oakland Raiders taking linebacker Zach Cunningham out of Vanderbilt. He's a tackling machine. I mean, the dude's stat sheet is packed every week, double-digit tackles. He missed some tackles, which is a concern for some people also. I mean, but I think it really has a little bit to do with his speed. He's not sideline to sideline. But whenever you got Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin on the outside for your backers, you don't really need speed. I mean, that much speed in the middle. They're going to be able to funnel all that inside, and he's going to be able to do what he does best, and that's just put people on the ground.
Yeah, and with right here, I mean, you may say that the Raiders, they need help on the back end, but some other people with their thinking and their theories. I mean, it starts with the front seven first. So right here, I feel like Cunningham is the best linebacker available, and they should pick him, especially with guys like Mack and Irvin and the help that he has in front of him. He'll have in front of him if they do pick him.
And the Raiders, I mean, they were a pretty good defense last year, but they could not stop the run. I mean, that's why the scores were just shooting through the roof.
Right here at 25, the Texans. Have a lot of Texans fans. Here, going to let y'all know right here that y'all cannot pass up on Patrick Mahomes, and that's who we have them taking. He's got a lot of tenacity, played pretty awesome at Tech, even though kind of like guys that like to run around a lot, ran into sacks, but that attributes to his team and what he didn't have around him, basically doing everything by himself. He probably has the best arm, if not, in my opinion, better arm than Flacco had coming out of Delaware State, and got a lot of talent, a lot of potential, so I don't think they can pass up on him. And if they do, Texan fans, your owner and your GM, they're selling Tom Savage to you that y'all can win with him. What happens if he gets injured? Brandon Weeden is going to be your quarterback?
I mean, Mahomes has a crap load of potential. The dude is, I mean, the cannon arm, great mobility. He just needs to be, reined in a little bit. He's from Texas. It just makes sense. Plus, you hired Bill O'Brien because of his experience with quarterbacks. I mean, you might as well take a guy with potential here now to develop. Brock Osweiler didn't work because, I mean, you never even met the dude. The dude didn't even walk in the door whenever you signed him. So, take a young guy here. It makes sense. And, you're on the verge of making it deep in the playoffs. So you might as well take a chance here. Instead of taking a defensive player with your first round pick like you guys have, like, forever.
Yeah. Positive duality to it is just like Bill O'Brien brought in Hackenberg when he was only 18 coming into college and showed a lot of potential, and he had a lot of potential and then kind of fell off after O'Brien left, just like bringing in Osweiler here. O'Brien didn't really know him or anything. Get a young guy here. Get a young guy here that O'Brien can develop and wants to develop.
So at 26, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking Kevin King, cornerback out of Washington. Kevin King has really been rising up draft boards. I mean, he's crazy. I mean, the dude's got great size, pretty good cornerback. I mean, that Washington secondary was all pretty good. But he really fits their mold. Big guys on the corner to press you on the line. And, Sherman, he may be walking out the door. I wouldn't be surprised if MARSHON and Sherman get traded to the Raiders, which would be crazy. But it could happen. And it makes more sense than does just me saying it. So Kevin King would be able to fill in that void that's possibly going to be there. And if not, I mean, he'll probably take over Deshaun Shedd's side on the other spot on the other side, who's coming off an ACL injury.
Kevin King, he makes a lot of sense right here, especially with the trade talks going around with Sherman and stuff. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen up until the draft, which is only now a little less than 2 weeks away. But it's a Washington guy. It's their guy from Washington, so makes a lot of sense right here. Fits their prototype of what they like, the long, lanky guys there at cornerback that can keep up and have a lot of length and be able to stat up those PBUs. All right, number 27, the Kansas City Chiefs. We have them picking Hassan Reddick, linebacker out of Temple. Derek Johnson getting up there in age and coming off an injury, playing guys. I mean, you saw playing guys like the Steelers and Bell in the playoffs, and they're going to be in the playoffs consistently for years to come. They need help on there.
Yeah, rumor is that they like a few quarterbacks, but I mean, with the guys that we've already picked in this draft, I don't think there's anyone worth the pick here. And Reddick fills the need. He played all over. He played defensive end at Temple as well as outside linebacker. So he's got versatility, and that defense is already great. So why not make it even better? So at 28, the pick that we've been waiting for, the Dallas Cowboys are on the board. So we both have differing picks here. I'll start off. I have them picking Charles Harris, the defensive end out of Missouri. He plays right defensive end. Most of the roster is stacked with left defensive ends. Right defensive end is the pure pass rushing guy. Harris is a pretty damn good player. He didn't test well athletically, that is something that the Cowboys like a lot. But Harris has met with them multiple times, and he just makes sense. Especially in Missouri, they've produced guys like Coney Ely, Shane Ray, who the Cowboys really wanted whenever he was coming out, as well as Marcus Golden. So there's a good history there.
And I don't agree with it, but I'll kind of touch on my points where I do agree with it. That makes me agree with the pick is that when Greg Hardy was on the other side, I know, don't get mad. Greg Hardy was on the other side. Lawrence's production did go up. It did go up, and when nobody was this past year was on the other side. I mean, even though he didn't play, he only played. Lawrence didn't play. I know he didn't play the full season. He was suspended for 4 games, but anyways, he only had one sack in.
Yeah, in 9 games.
Yeah,
he was
9 or 8 games.
Back injury.
Yeah, I mean, but if you do help on the other side, but right here, my guy, I have them picking Tease Tabor, Florida Gators. People might be scared away with his 40 time and stuff, but he never allowed a completion. I think it was like over 20 yards or something like that, and he quarterback ratings had an average of like 43.6 or somewhere around there throwing at him, and for the comparison level, the average QBR for throwing in the dirt is like 39.6. So I mean, basically every time they threw at him, they were throwing in the dirt. Even though they do need a defensive end, it's kind of contradicting, but I feel like Tease is a better cornerback than what Charles or Taco or guys that might be there. Tease is a better cornerback than what they are defensive ends.
As far as Tease goes, I like him a lot. I like his instincts. He plays a lot faster than what he timed. I think he was dealing with hamstring injuries. I don't hold that against him. But I think because of those things, teams will have him sliding a little bit, so he'll be there in the second. Maybe not at the Cowboys pick, but I feel like, I mean, they have a history of jumping up in the second round, and they always trade. So I believe that they could get both my player and his player in this draft. And also, I mean, whenever, just look at the playoff game. I mean, that heartbreaking playoff game. Aaron Rodgers was standing back there all day. Even going back to 2014, he was standing back there all day. I mean, you're not going to get after guys like him with what you got now. So Harris really feels a big void there.
I feel like you also don't know how. I'm pretty sure, I know Jalen's going to be a beast, and you have Tapper there, so that's why I feel like, you know what, you can go ahead and pick a guy like Tabor here, who in my opinion, maybe not as good as Lattimore, but I feel like he's as good as the other quarterbacks, as White, as Conley, and those other secondary guys, as King. I think he's better than them. He has that swagger to him that, I said it before the comparison came out for him, like Talib, and you need a guy like that. You need a guy that's going to take chances, that's going to just bring that attitude to him, especially against a guy like that we have in the division like Odell. And I feel like he would match perfectly. At 29, we have the Packers taking my other Florida Gator, even though I do not think he is as good. Quincy Wilson, a little long, rangy, but he's not as fluid in the hips. Can kind of get a little lost in coverage sometimes, but the Packers would get absolutely shredded, and they need help in the secondary, and Quincy wouldn't be a bad pick just because he's almost as good as Tease, even though I don't think he is, but they just need help. They need help there.
Yeah, I think Quincy's a different corner than Tease. Quincy's just a bigger guy. He's going to press you off the ball. He's a little less instinctive than Tease, but I mean, I'd take either of them on my team. I mean, the Packers, they're playing safeties at cornerback. They lost Micah Hyde, who was a safety, playing cornerback. This is just like a glaring hole for them. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to get you through that division, win the division, get you to the divisional round in the playoffs. You might as well back him up on defense. I mean, the dude needs somebody out there trying to make plays. Quincy's a pretty damn good player. So at 30, the Pittsburgh Steelers got him taking TJ Watt out of Wisconsin. You know, TJ Watt has been getting a lot of media attention just because of his name. Maybe getting boosted up draft boards because of that. He's a little slender. Only started 1 year. And only started 1 year on defense too. He's still learning the position. But I mean, I was flip-flopping here between him and Tack McKinley out of UCLA, who's a pretty. I mean, if he didn't have his shoulder injury, I think the Cowboys would run up with that pick. A lot of teams would. He'd probably be a top 20 player. But TJ Watt doesn't have the injuries. He's going up the draft boards. It makes sense. You need to, fill a guy in for James Harrison whenever he eventually retires. I mean, the dude could play forever. He's also a good guy for TJ Watt to learn from. So he makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much to the back end here. I mean, you could go off of best available, but this draft is so deep that you're going to have guys in there in the second round. Maybe make a safe pick here. That's why we go ahead and pick TJ right here towards the end of the draft. He did have a little injuries a while back, but he stayed free from that for 2 years. He is a 1 year starter. Yes, he does get a little hype because of his name, but as far as we've seen and stuff, more teams are starting to like him, and people are saying, well, maybe he should be a little rising up draft board. Yeah, at 31, we have the Atlanta Falcons picking Forrest Lamp. help out that run game more, I guess, so you can run the ball at the end of the game.
Yeah,
Need
right.
help. Besides Alex Mack, he's pretty versatile. Forrest Lamp is, and it'll just help out guys. Like I said, with other quarterbacks, Matt Ryan has it around him. Keep putting it in front of him. It's copycat league. Keep putting guys in front of you, in front of your guys that you already have in the backfield and around your quarterback.
Yeah, whether you're running with Freeman or Tevin Coleman, you really want to help them out. And whether you run the ball or not, which y'all did in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, but running the ball, you can really control the time of possession. Like we said before, NFC South, I mean, the freaking scoreboard lights up. So, maybe control the clock a little bit more, learn from your mistakes in the Super Bowl, take a really good versatile guard here, Forrest Lamp. With the final pick of the first round, New Orleans Saints' second first-round pick, I got them taking Chidobe Awuzie, the quarterback out of Colorado. This dude's been shooting up a lot because of his versatility. He played nickel corner, slot corner, outside. Dude was all over the field. Really good player, tested great at the combine. The Saints need a lot of help in the secondary. He'd really be able to move all over the place. Pairs up well with Von Bell, who they took last year, Kenny Vaccaro. So, I mean, that's good young core already right there. They already got Jonathan Allen earlier in the first round in this mock. So those are two pretty good players to add to your defense. Because that offense, I mean, they're going to be blowing it up with Drew Brees all the time, every week.
Yep. And with picking Jonathan Allen, I already feel like they had a pretty decent front seven, especially with the linebacker that they picked out of Clemson 2 years ago in the draft. So I feel like their front seven with picking Allen, it's already good. Go ahead and take Awuzie here, cornerback, and help Vaccaro out, and help, especially because Vaccaro most of the time he would come down and play the hard spot on defense, which is coming down and playing the slot spot as a safety, and that's the hardest spot to play. So go ahead and help him out. Pick Awuzie here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Bro is coming off an injury too as well. But so Awuzie would really help that defense out.
The last point we want to make about the Cowboys, in my opinion here, like I said, Barnett is the second best front seven player in this draft, in my opinion, from watching him wreak havoc in the SEC. If he is there towards 18 before the Buccaneers are picking, I know it's 10 picks and I know it might lobby more than what fans would like, but Barnett, it's kind of contradicting I say this because I said I want them to pick Tease, but it's because Charles and Taco aren't as good as Barnett is. Barnett could be that missing piece to this. Hopefully we see a Super Bowl run. If you have to give up this year's second and next year's second, even though it is a draft, a guy like Barnett, I feel like you cannot pass up on him.
I think if they want to move up, it's got to be 18. Tampa's met with Barnett multiple times just like they have. I think they really like him as a player, and he would pair well with Noah Spence, who they took in the second round last year. So if they really want Barnett, I like him a lot as a player. I mean, he's nowhere near Myles Garrett, but the dude's hands are vicious. That is the thing that people are always talking about with him. He's got a good first step, and the dude will just maul you with his hands, which I like.
Havoc. He wreaks havoc.
Yeah, and you can't deny 33 sacks. I mean, that's a great number. You're averaging 11 sacks a season. Yeah. This was a tough mock to go through. I mean, this is a very, very deep class as far as defense goes. I mean, there's a bunch of great players. The second round, I mean, it's going to be all over again. A crap load of defensive players. Safety is deep in the second round. If you need a safety, you're going to get him in the second round. There's Justin Evans out of A&M, Butter Baker out of Washington,
Obi.
Obi, yeah, shit, I forgot about Obi.
See,
I mean, Josh Jones. I mean, there's a lot of great safeties. I mean, Obi could end up. I mean, he's been meeting with the Lions a lot. I almost wanted to put him there. I mean, the dude. I mean, he jumped freaking crazy at the combine warrior. Which, I mean, in the past that really hasn't panned out with players. But
the reason it did with Brian is because the reason it did with Byron is because Byron has it up here. Very smart kid. I'm not too sure how Obi tests out there, but yeah, this was extremely hard. We got points to where we were in the first round and we were like, man, we forgot about this guy. We don't even have this guy yet. Like, this is
Solomon Thomas was the guy that was like, oh shit, he's not
he's not even there.
Which is stupid, but I mean, it's just because going through a mock, crazy things happen. Yeah, and as far as our mock went, I mean, with the quarterbacks going, a team that I could see jumping back into the first round, possibly at 32, just because the Saints, I think they could probably feel like they could get whatever player they want in the second round as well. Probably the Cardinals. They're tied to Deshaun Kaiser, developmental guy, but he's got a cannon arm, the size, everything. And Bruce Arians, I mean, you want to talk about quarterback whisperers? That dude's worked with almost every great.
Touch on the quarterback situation as far as the Jets go. We have them picking Lattimore, and also they have to shore up that secondary. Some people might want to say that, you know, they might just go ahead and pick Trubisky there because they do need a quarterback, but I feel like they could get a guy like Davis Webb in the later rounds, which some people have been talking about him more and hype. And he is very good arm talent, can make all the throws too and stuff.
Plus, he invested a pick in Christian Hackenberg, who, I mean, is also a developmental quarterback, but I mean, he showed flashes in his college career.
And Petty.
Yeah, and Petty out of Baylor. So, I mean,
just have an open quarterback option. 4 quarterbacks.
Do you really need that many quarterbacks? I mean, with the Jets, maybe. I mean,
yeah.
But
hey, competition brings out the best in you. So as far as Jets fans go, I think they'll pick another quarterback in this later round. Hopefully, like Davis Webb. Hopefully for y'all, like Davis Webb, and just have an all-out brawl in training camp. And touch up on the second round again. I think the phones are going to be ringing off the hook in the second round. 2 phones, just crazy. 2 phones like crazy. GMs, everybody, man, they better. Will McClay, everybody better be ready, man. But I honestly don't think they'll. Even though the phones will be ringing a lot, I don't think anybody's really going to move, like we said, because this draft is so deep that they're just going to want to, you know, go stay put. We're going to get our guy.
There's definitely at least 50 players with first round grades. So those first 20 picks in the second round are going to be first round valuable. Well, that pretty much does it for this first round mock draft that we had. Like we said, tough, but we had a good time doing it. If you want to check out more of our videos, upcoming videos, subscribe to us on YouTube, Dos and Tres.
We'll try to put out videos. We will more than likely be putting out videos weekly. Like I said, if you like what you see, subscribe, drop a like, and follow our social media accounts.
Yep. Thank you, and thanks for watching.
Peace.